Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the second day of our Liveurope Online Festival. This is the last session of our conference dedicated to the challenge facing music venues in Corona times. And for this session, we have the honor of working with the creator of the Music X Corona newsletter, Bass, which was certainly one of the guiding resources for our sector through this moment. So today with Bass and all our panelists, we'll be discussing how music venues are finding ways to stay active and relevant while their stages are empty. So since we first wrote this panel title, a few more venues have been opening their venues again, but the core idea of this discussion remains the same. And it's the same that we wanted to do with this, this whole conference program. To take a future-oriented approach on how to weather this crisis and empower the crucial role of music venues in these times. So if you tuned in yesterday, and I recognize some names among the attendees, you know that we'll take the first 45 minutes to discuss the topic with our panelists and then open the floor for the audience. So you can already use the Q&A tool. So that's all for me. I'll give the floor to Bass for the panel.
Right.
Yes, you can go.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Bas Grasmayer. Indeed, one of the things I do is I have this newsletter called Music X Corona. So today we'll speak about how music venues are finding ways to stay active and relevant. We'll do that over this kind of 45 minutes. In the last 15 minutes, I want to open up to questions. If you have questions at any point, don't hesitate. There's like a Q&A option in the bottom of your Zoom screen. Please drop it in and we'll get to it later. And I have like a super cool lineup in my opinion, and I hope also in yours. So I have Mark Adam Harold of the Vilnius Nights Alliance here. Sten Ove Toft of Vladica. By the way, if I butcher anyone's name, please correct it as soon as I get you to speak. Vladica Mladenovski of MKC Skopje in Macedonia, and Lene Vive Christiansen of VEGA in Copenhagen. I'm kind of curious, let's kind of work reverse. So first the question to Lene is, how are you staying active right now, and how's that different from like the last couple of months?
Sorry about that. We are actually pretty active since we were allowed to open on September 1st. So we've been having concerts for the past little bit more than 2 weeks. We are able to do a 450 capacity in our main venue for 1,550. So actually it's quite a lot compared to all other venues, but still not anything that we can, you know, do our normal business on. But actually it's working pretty well. We've spent a lot of time on all the practice stuff. We've sectionized the audience so we can have people on the balcony that will never meet all the audiences on the floor. It's working pretty well. We're spending a lot of extra expenses on cleaning and extra personnel and stuff like that. But it's working, and we can be a part of the ecosystem again. So that is actually really a relief. What me and my booking team I have spent most time actually doing is renegotiating deals. We've tried to transfer already sold tickets because we actually had, as a lot of you guys had, a full program full ready to take off the ramp. So we've actually, and we had to negotiate the deals. There was no way that we could go through with the deals that we had already, and that we actually spent a lot of time negotiating deals that will work for everyone. In my opinion, they will work for everyone. I'm not sure the agents are as satisfied as they could, but they're actually being pretty damn good at negotiating it and finding a way through this. We've also set up some new shows that are able to be sold quite fast. And everything, of course, has to be domestic and local, because we can't have bands from outside the world. And I seriously realized how bad a state a venue is, like VEGA is in, when we're, you know, thrown off 60% of what we're usually able to have. We're in an international venue. We host more than 60% of our usually program is from international bands. So I'm really struggling trying to find out how many local bands that we can suit, but also having in mind that this is not going to end on December 31st. We need to be able to do this for a long time. So yes, but yes, we're open. Yeah.
There's a couple of topics there that I want to get into once kind of everyone has been introduced. Just one more. No, actually, I'll ask them next. I'll weave them into the rest of the panel.
Yeah.
I'll get to Vladica right now of MKC. So same question to you. What's going on at MKC? I'm also curious how kind of lockdowns and government measures have evolved during the pandemic in Macedonia. Did you have to completely shut down at any points, Vladica?
And yeah, we were closed. We were closed from March till July. We were working since we here in Macedonia. When they say that it's going to be a lockdown and epidemic, we thought that you Western people will find a cure, and we were you know, like we were rescheduling the shows for May, June. We thought it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's gone, you know. Like we stay home 2 weeks vacation of spring, and after that, you know, we find the pill, and it's all back to normal. But it's not like we thought it's going to be. And then for the lockdown with the city of Skopje and with the other cultural institutions in the city, including MKC, we did 50 shows for the local musicians during the lockdown in the Skopje neighborhoods, you know, for the people in the buildings and stuff. It was not a selected program, but it was an open call, and all the musicians got a same amount of the same fee, all 50. We did 50 from April, May, and June. Then we did a session of MKC versus Kino Šiška via Kino Šiška Ljubljana, or I think 8 shows. They had a show in Šiška, and after that it was like a streaming show, yeah, from our venue, and they were streaming from their venue. And then with the health authorities, we were negotiating the protocols, and we made a deal that we can do shows outdoor with the regulations, of course, with the strict regulations. For I think first was 30% of the capacity of the outdoor venue, and now I think it's 40% of the capacity. So from July we are doing shows regularly, but only outdoors in the park. We have a park here in MKC. It's a big park for 3,000 capacity, and we have like up to 600 capacity now outside. So we were pretty active, actually. We were doing these shows in the neighborhoods, then we did some stream shows, and now we're back live. And now, because we are lucky that the weather here is like still very, very good. The summer is still here, so we can do out. But November, December, we will see what is going on, like what's going to happen, and we don't know really, like, yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. I like the kind of neighborhoods concerts. So how does that work? You would kind of drive up in a van and with big speakers and have like a band outside?
It was a complete, when it was like, we did these shows when it was like complete lockdown. You know, we have permits from the authorities, and we know which bands is going to play. We were getting permits for the bands, you know, like because it was like complete lockdown. And we drive the gear in the van. We find the solutions to find electricity and stuff, and we do shows for the neighborhoods, you know, in the different neighborhoods around Skopje. As I told you, it was like everything. It was not selected program, but it was like you apply, and we have like I don't know, like first I think 50, we missed something, like we have like 60 something, 70 maybe applications. We did 50, just 50. So because the lockdown was over and it was like, there was no point to do a shows when, you know, there was no lockdown. So we left maybe this 20 for November or something like that, yeah.
Were those shows announced beforehand, or it was just like a pop-up as a surprise?
No, announced, but day before, like lockdown from Friday till Sunday, till Monday, and the people know that Friday is in this neighborhood, and it was streaming live also. It was streaming live because it was not just we try to be, you know, like to find a job not just for the music scene, but also for the video. For the video people, you know, we have like a couple of crews who were streaming this. So they all got the same amount of money. They all got the same. We don't pay. We have like quite popular bands that were playing. You know, they didn't get much money from the others. Maybe some unknown bands. You know.
Cool, really interesting. I'll just move on to like the rest of the intros, and then we'll have a conversation. Sten, so what does a normal year for BLA look like in terms of kind of the types of events you put on, and what types of events are you putting on now?
Yeah, normal year. We normally do around 400 events a year. I think it was like 420 last year. And of course, that's radically changed this year. Yeah, since the lockdown in March, we didn't do any shows until the beginning of June. It was first it was 50 capacity for events until the 15th of June. And after the 15th of June, they increased it to 200. But it's still with the 1 meter distancing rule. We still can't do more than 70 in our room, compared to 350 tickets, which we normally do. So it's quite radically changed. But in the meantime, we did a lot of streaming concerts. I personally, after I went on a furlough, started up this. Was one of the people that started up a concert series online that where we did from the first show was the first day of the lockdown, the 12th of March, and until also like mid-June or something, when we ended that streaming campaign, so to say. We did online, we did 350 shows. It was pretty much 5 shows a day, I think, on average. So kept busy, but kept busy with without an audience, you can say.
Yeah, and do you have like kind of the same types of events, the same types of bands? Obviously, like probably focused more locally. Is it only Norwegian acts right now in your venue? Yeah,
it's only Norwegian because there's everything's red flagged left, right, and center at the moment. Artists will have to, from abroad, will have to quarantine, and yeah, it's quite it's very locally focused. Even it's quite actually quite an Oslo focus at the moment. It's not not a lot of artists coming from the other parts of the country either. That's pretty much based on the production costs of everything, because since we can only sell 70 tickets, you can't do like a lot of travel arrangements and whatnot. We did, however, do one band. It was the British band Fat White Family, because they actually they escaped from the UK and met up with a friend that has a house with a studio. So they self-quarantined in while they're recording a new album, and spent the weekend playing 2 shows abroad.
And I noticed on your website that are you also doing kind of like dinner parties, or I had to like kind of dig through the Norwegian, I think the website is in. Like,
yeah, because during the summer we have the outdoor area as well. The outdoor area is around. We do sometimes. Normally we do shows there as well, which where we can do 500 capacity, but everything's with the 1 meter distancing rule. Outdoors we can do 100 people. So it's been very much a focus on not the concerts anymore. It's been more like running a cafe or like an outdoor bar or a beer garden and doing those kind of activities and having like this, yeah, food and whatnot and outdoor DJs and yeah.
Yeah, like actually that gets me to a question that I also want to discuss with more people, but I'll ask you first. Do you think in this time you're mostly reaching kind of the existing audience that you were already reaching, or are also kind of new audiences finding you because of things just being a little bit different and people looking for maybe new experiences?
Is that a question to me?
Yeah, sorry, yes, then. Yes, that's a question for you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's since we are quite established in Oslo, I don't think we kind of like reach a new audience per se because people aren't traveling. It's but you have to just reinvent yourself in ways where you're trying to just stay afloat and I don't know, keep people interested and yeah, keep the spirit up. I don't know. It's basically trying to do, for me as a concert booker, trying to do everything else than book concerts.
All right, challenging. I'll move it over to Mark now of the Vilnius Night Alliance. Slightly different thread because you don't manage a venue directly. Maybe you can explain first what the Vilnius Night Alliance is, and then give like the attendees a bit of an understanding of what's happening in Vilnius now locally.
Sure. So the Vilnius Night Alliance is an alliance of the main nightclubs and bars and musicians and promoters, which I really respected and which I thought were doing good work. We have a code of ethics, which means all of our members have to agree to equality and have to agree to sensible policies on drugs control and all of those good things that every venue should be doing. But I started with a hardcore of venues that really wanted to work on those issues. So we just got started when the pandemic hit, which was really annoying because we were planning a raft of really nice social projects that we were going to be doing and improving the image of the industry. And Lithuania anyway is not the most gay-friendly country, for example, and we had a lot of good ideas to try and shift that perception. But then the pandemic hit, so we turned more into a kind of lobbyist for keeping nightlife open, for getting compensation for clubs that were shut down. And the shutdown was super strict and super fast, which meant that quite quickly everyone was allowed to reopen again. And all summer we've been working indoors and outdoors 24 hours. The clubs have been open all night. And we have a pavement cafe culture, and famously the mayor completely liberalized the pavement cafe licensing system. So pretty much every square meter of the city had a table on it. Some of the restaurants had the best summer they've ever had. But the nightclubs obviously didn't really do very well out of the pavement cafe thing. And then there was the threat that they were going to be shut down again. So we were lobbying hard to keep them open. And the most successful argument was the harm reduction argument, which is quite simply that if you shut us down, then all of these people are going to be partying at home with no masks, no disinfectant, no security guards, no nothing. And we finally got a meeting with the health ministry for the first time in Lithuanian history. The health ministry talked to the nightlife industry. And they said, okay, so you can stay open for 2 weeks and then we'll see what happens. And then weirdly, yesterday, we were going to go back to have another meeting with them and suggest a lot of safety things that we want to do and to make registration compulsory and to have more inspections. Our strategy has always been to push for more safety. And our members are already implementing safety measures that they don't even have to do by law. So then we were hoping to go back to the ministry and say, look, we're doing all of these amazing things, leave us open. And by the way, we want compulsory registration and we want masks on the dance floor to be enforced. The police are doing nothing. And we got an email from the health ministry saying, everything's okay, so we're not going to make any new safety rules, so the meeting's cancelled. So today we're writing back to say, wait a minute, we wanted more safety rules. So it's a really bizarre situation, and mostly because there's elections in 2 weeks' time. So we have quite an authoritarian anti-nightlife government that doesn't really know what it's doing now, and the elections are coming. So it's kind of anything could happen. So I think they just kind of backed off and said, these bars, this is just too much to handle. And we're being left alone to work 24 hours.
So what are the restrictions right now in Vilnius, at least? Like, can you do full capacity events?
No. We are. It works out to be about 30–40% capacity, and as I say, it's not enforced. So unfortunately, we're suffering now that our members are enforcing these rules, and people are saying, "Oh, why do I have to wear a mask here?" Like, "Oh, screw this! I'm going to go over the street to the other place where I don't have to wear masks." Which is why we wanted to argue for enforcement, because also as a sector, we know that if there's going to be 2 or 3 outbreaks in any nightclub, they're going to try and shut us all down. So we really do want the safety measures. And I'm really actually almost angry that after so much arguing to try and get these safety measures made compulsory, the government has now said that they're not compulsory and everything's okay. Which is definitely not okay. And because there's a 2-week delay with this virus, you know, things that are happening now are going to hit us in 2 weeks' time, and then there's going to be the elections, and then they're going to try and shut down everything.
Yeah, I wonder especially what that will kind of look like when kind of the weather gets colder or rainier, or a combination of that.
We have that problem in Vilnius. It's like -20 in the winter. So the pavement cafe argument is completely gone. And again, we will be arguing heavily that at least some people should be partying in our place, where we can control the alcohol sales, control the disinfectant in the toilets and all of those kind of things, rather than everyone going around to each other's flats and hugging and kissing.
Right. Vladica, how are you looking at the upcoming months? So you have kind of the benefits of being able to have this large outdoor space. What about your indoor spaces? Are you doing anything with this?
Here we have, I think that the new regulations here are now that they just opened now the cinemas, I think yesterday or something. It's like Philharmonic Orchestra did a show also with the 30% capacity. Here in Mlade, we have a venue 263 with seats. It's a cinema, and also we have this big room for 800 people with chairs. It can fit, I think, like 100 with the distance and stuff. So we really don't know. I think we will do some sort of a hybrid program, you know, like few audience and maybe live stream, but it will be all local, you know, like everything will be local, because it's not some of the neighbor countries are not allowed to work. Even we did a couple of international bands even for the summer. Some of the bands took a risk to come, like, I don't know, we have Efterklang from Denmark and some Turkish band, and we have DJ from Portugal and stuff. We have also some Greeks here. They, the Greeks supposed to make tests here. They pay for tests. They have to have a test to return to the country. But the others, the regulations at that time were okay, and they just took a risk to come, and everything was okay. After that, the Danish guys did the test, and it was negative, of course. Yeah, it was okay. For the winter, it will going to be a hard winter. Also regarding the capacity and the incomes, expected incomes, usually these are the most busiest period in markets like October, November, December. So until the weather is good, we do outdoors, and then we'll figure out. Yeah.
Do you see the same type of enthusiasm now, at least like of audiences for kind of local bands or DJs? Like, and do you think that's kind of sustainable throughout the crisis?
Look, luckily we are like sort of privileged in a privileged position, because this Skopje is run by the city of Skopje. You know, we have some public money coming in, so we have our programs, which are like, of course, international, and they allow us to reprogram it for a local. Even they allow us to reprogram the budgets for streaming local concerts, you know, and till the end of the year we are okay, and we are covered. We will do local. People are interested, of course. They want to come to shows, even they have to wear a mask. A lot of people that are coming say like everything is better than watching online concert, you know, like mask, you wear, or you have these visits, like you can drink with a straw, you know, like, yeah. And people are coming, and they are all the shows are more or less like full, you know, yeah.
And what about the streaming aspect? Do you have any kind of hybrid type events where you're maybe having a live show and streaming it out to people also?
No, we were not doing this. We were just streaming. We were just streaming when we have this lockdown. You know, we didn't thought that it's smart, even because we were not allowed to work. You know, but we did shows streaming, and we thought that it's like we thought it's not okay to stream a show inside the venue and to project it outside for the audience. And we did the streaming shows just for the complete lockdown, you know, when the people were not allowed to leave their houses. After they leave their houses, the promoters from Macedonia get together in one. They create one organization, and luckily we have nice communication with the health minister and the health authorities here, and we suggested them as a protocol, very, very well written, and they accepted, the government accepted, and from beginning of July, after the lockdown was over, you know, they started to open bars first, and then they open for outdoor shows.
Right. Lene, actually, Lene, you mentioned, or like, you're doing something with live streaming and live audiences. Is that correct?
Not quite. Actually, we haven't been experimenting with live streaming at all. One reason is that, as you said, Vladica, we were not allowed to work, and we got some subsidy from the government, but that meant that we could have no activities at all. So we haven't had any streaming. I've started to do some research. I've invited 2 groups from the Danish ITU, University of IT, to figure out, actually, to do some research on a much longer prospect. What can we do with this digital live music scene in the future also? And they're trying to figure out some kind of model or product that we can implant in the future. Because I think also regarding streaming, there's this whole thing that we haven't done any research on, which is, you know, how can the business model be? What are the actual needs? The need from audiences, what do they want? And the need from or demand from the audience, and the need from the artists, you know, what do they actually want out of this? So I think we need that perspective on it, and that's what I started right now. What I've also, in the beginning research level, is trying to figure out is an idea that we had at VEGA which is how can we invite people in, to use our venue, to buy tickets, to go to the bar and be part of the community of the live scene, enjoy our like perfectly amazing PA system, and just watch something online. Is that even something people want to do? So I started this kind of idea. Right now it's called Live on Screen. It's not going to be called that. But my idea is to work with like different venues, maybe in the Liveurope respective, and then see if we can invite some big or bigger artists to do some sort of live stream, so that people will be at the venue in the community they want, hopefully using the bar and drink some beers, use our PA system and watch something online, and preferably one-on-one or something with the artist, being able to communicate with the audience. So that's an idea that I'm working on, and I'll be in touch with those of you guys who might be interested in being part of that. So no online streaming from our side, but we're working on different kind of issues with, the way that I see it is that we have to be able to use this when all this is over. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on doing something that is not quite what we want to do in the future. So I'm trying to do this properly.
I'm curious about your experiences with streaming, Sten, and particularly if it's something that you kind of see Vlad doing like long term, and if so, in what way? I know that might be like pretty hard to predict.
Yeah. Well, for what we've been doing, it's been very interesting to see the statistics of it. It's of course a lot of when we started, it was all as it was all over the world. It was basically an artist with an acoustic guitar playing in front of a webcam at home. But it was just basically to keep artists afloat. That was the thought. We all worked for free, and with like these SMS micro transfer services, then people were sending money directly to the artists and stuff. So for some artists, it was quite beneficial in a very crucial time. And then because like in the start of the lockdown, you had a lot of attendance, or like a lot of audience, and of course the longer it lasts, the fewer is still clinging on. So you could see like the audience numbers were like slowly fading down, but it was also like cross fading with the spring arriving and things opening up more and more. So it's very hard to tell if how kind of like relevant streaming is from just based on what we did from March to June. I think, but my reflections upon it, it's been pretty much that maybe it's kind of like a seasonal thing that we should be looking at now, that now that the fall is coming into Norway and it's getting cold and it's too cold to sit outside in the outdoor areas and everything, that people are like moving gradually in and indoors, and the weather is turning to shit when there's all the snow and everything arriving, then it might be a good idea to look at the possibilities to start up with streaming again for the winter. So.
Would this be something just to stay relevant, or would you also try to kind of attach, for instance, a ticketing system to these live streams?
It's it's kind of like mostly to be relevant, and what we started doing with the new modeling for it, we did it in May, or like partly in April as well. We started doing it at Blå with the kind of like pay-per-view system. It only took like a month or something before people started monetizing all the streaming in Norway, and all these companies popping up and leeching onto the music industry. And so you had a lot of platforms opening up where you could charge per tickets basically, or per stream. And that went, as it always does in the music industry, it went very well for the big artists, and it didn't work that well for the small ones.
What types of pricing would you think of as well when you're like organizing kind of, let's say, live stream concerts?
We started out by charging 100 kroners, which is around 10 euros per stream, which is not like, yeah, it is not limited to amount of people. That's like if you're single or like a family, it doesn't matter, of course. Which transfer to like a normal concert tickets here in Norway would be for a regular band would be 200 kroners, which is 20 euros. So it would be kind of like half price for the stream. And for the most selling concert we did was with the Norwegian indie pop band named Number 4, and they sold 1,100 tickets for the stream. But they also normally do sell a couple of thousand tickets for a club show as well.
All right. I just want to quickly remind all the viewers, you can drop like questions into the Q&A in about 8 minutes or so. I'll try to switch to that exclusively if possible. If otherwise, I'll keep things going because I have plenty of questions myself also. I'm just curious in general because I know like a lot of venues are still not able to kind of put anything on, or it sounds like of kind of the panel selection. These are like countries with some of the like kind of least restricted regimes. How should venues in countries where things are still more restricted kind of get ready for perhaps a relaxation of restrictions? Like, are there things that you learned in getting ready where maybe restrictions very relaxed, you were like, oh, we're not ready? And this is actually a question for everyone, including Mark also, just your experiences of coming out of a lockdown situation.
Can I first say how much I hate streams? Is that okay? Because everyone was so diplomatic about it, and I feel like they also kind of hate streams, and I just want to speak up for everyone in the world that hates streams. We are the live music industry. We are the getting together in a room and being really sweaty and shouting and jumping up and down industry. You cannot provide an alternative for that. In the discussion we had with Bas before this meeting, I made the analogy, it's like replacing a cocktail with a glass of water. And Bas said, yeah, and then you have to look at the glass of water in your laptop. So like that's what streams are. Also, I really don't like them because it makes normal people think that you're doing okay and that you're active. And they're not even donating anything on that stream. And donating to musicians, that's not how it should be. It should be ticket sales. And so they think that you're active and you're working and you're fine and you're having a great time. But no, you're not. You're really struggling, and the whole industry is struggling, and all of the support workers that you need to have a live event aren't doing any work. There's just one guy with a webcam. So it gives a false impression of the state of the industry. And the main thing is that you should be trying to reopen. You should be allowed to work, at least at limited capacity, maybe with a subsidy. You shouldn't be having an empty club on a webcam. That's just not an alternative for this industry. And I think I kind of wish people didn't do it. I think doing it could actually be damaging, and it's not helping us at all. So sorry, I just had to express that. So I completely forgot the actual question. But
I want to pause that. Thank you. I want to pause that question actually, because I'm curious if anyone has anything to either add to that in terms of like a perspective or maybe to counter. I am curious about like about kind of how you see it in terms of the skills required, because to some extent, I guess putting on a live stream has some similarities to actually doing events, but in other ways, it's a digital medium rather than kind of a concert that is arguably a lot older as a business, and in terms of like getting people to the venue, selling tickets, etc. So I'm curious, kind of what you've learned to the people who have been doing something with live streaming, what you've learned, and how you might think that might be useful beyond just live streaming.
I'm not sure I quite totally understand your question. That's why we all looked a little. Can I add a small thing also, that some of the things that we discovered and realized about streaming is something that Sten Ove also said, that yes, we can probably stream an experienced big hit band, and that will maybe attend some of the big fans, but as a live music venue, you're in it for different reasons. We're in this because this is our life, and we want to be a part of the music business. But when you're part of the music business, you're part of an ecosystem. And the thing is that, yes, we can host big ass bands, and we love that, and we love when we have thousands of people, you know, waving and singing. But we're also a part of this ecosystem, which means that we need to be something for emerging artists and for small genres and for niche sub underground stuff, and that will just not work with live streams. It might work with 10 people watching this new upcoming artist, but that's just not a business in any way. So that's something that the artists can do for themselves. And actually what happened in Denmark was that all the artists were playing at home in their socks, and you could see their kids and their husband cooking dinners and stuff, but that's just not what we're in it for. And what we realized is that we need to be working, but we also need to make a difference and be a part of this ecosystem that I'm talking about. So we're not going to put all our energy in live streaming. We're trying to be there, and making a difference where we can. And right now VEGA is open. When we weren't open, we were trying to see where we could push all the emerging artists that we could. And what I've done right now when opening is that I'm forcing the support act. I figured that this is the best way to keep the wheels running. So I'm negotiating hardcore with all the bands that are actually playing to say that they have to involve a support act. And we're communicating to all the audiences who have their tickets and saying, please be there on time. Please be there to support the local band playing, because that's the next band that you are going to see at VEGA for next year or the year after. So we're trying to kind of nudge to everyone to be able to make a difference for new bands. I know that my answer is not something quite to do with streaming, but it's something that's been on my mind for a long time, and it says what you also said, Mark, that what's our actually what's the terms that we're in this for, and that's something that I've been thinking a lot about.
Yeah, totally. I
Did
agree.
it make any sense? Yeah.
Mark, me also personally, we are against live. We don't think it's working, but it was a lockdown and we did it. And just you have to understand that this is a small scene. The bands here, they are not selling much. They don't have incomes. We did this because we have the funds, the public funds, and we can spend it on local bands. And the only way to spend it is also to make a stream show, because it was not allowed to do a live show. In July, we do a live show for a local band, and we people from MKC stay with the mask, like on distance, and we just shout that everything is better. Like they put you in a bottle and you stay in the bottle, but you watch the live band on stage. You know, like everything is better than the streaming. But we have to employ the you know, to keep them alive, because as I told you, this is not the big industry here. It's a really small family, sort of, you know, like a couple of thousand of people may be involved. You know, it's not like 100 sound technicians and 200 light technicians in Macedonia, or I don't know, like crews or something, you know, like it's a really small. Also even the bands, it's not like thousands of bands, you know, like, so we just to try to, you know, to keep them active and employed, you know. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Can I add something, Bas?
Yep.
I realized that, you know, my whole speech was, I don't entirely think that streaming is not worth anything, because what I also realized is that, you know, as you said, Vladica, it will, you know, keep the industry running. It also has an impact that I'm going to look into right now, which is involving both artists and audience that are maybe not as usual, you know, a usual live industry audience. There could be people who are not geographically able to get to the venue. There could be people who are, you know, kind of kept out of this community because they're not health, you know, their health kind of like stops them from going to live shows. So there are definitely ways that this will be an add-on to what we're doing, and that's definitely something that we will look into. So it's not black and white, this whole thing.
Yeah.
If you'll allow me to just agree then, Bas, I think what Lene's doing is really important, actually researching what the effect of it is. A lot of people have been doing stuff without really knowing, or even without measuring the effects. And I'm really looking forward, if there's an actual university that's putting effort into researching it, that's awesome. I really want to read the results. And also what Vladica said about public funding. We also in Lithuania, we had a program for digitalization and innovation in the creative industries, or some nonsense like that. And it was just a way to kind of make an excuse for giving a little bit of money to some people to do some kind of online projects while we're in this crisis. But we have to presume that we're coming out of it. And I also really liked what Lene said about not wasting time on stuff that's unsustainable. Obviously, the state funding thing is also unsustainable. They're not going to just keep paying us to stream for the next 6 years, if that's how long this takes. So I think we really need to be pushing for being active in the safest ways possible. And like Vladica said, even if you have to sit in a glass bubble while you're watching the live show, at least that's better than watching it on a laptop.
Sten, I saw your hand raised.
Yeah. Just to supply both Mark and Lena about it's like I wouldn't say I'm so much in the jumping up and down sweaty industry. I'm more into producing and promoting high quality music, and high quality music can also be in a dark, cold room with 10 people, and to stream that would also be quite nice. But also, as Lene said, there are streaming wise also like the comments and everything and the reactions we've been getting to the streamings we've been doing is that it's been so very sought after from people that has like that physically or psychologically can't be present in a concert setting. Either they are prohibited by distance or abilities. And for those, the feedback we've been getting from people with those disabilities has been overwhelming, and it's worth having that in mind as well for those who that not everyone wants to jump up and down and be sweaty in a small club all the time.
I actually attended Liveurope Festival just last week, which was quite an experience. Like, anyway, they set up a lot of things and it was all socially distanced. And it wasn't super exciting for me myself because of the way I normally go to concerts and also the type of music I'm into. But I had a friend and she messaged me like, oh, that's so cool that the concerts are like this, because I'm small and I can never see anything. And I never thought about that. I'm not Norwegian, but I'm pretty tall. And I never really had that problem. So like it's actually an interesting way to make to start thinking about the accessibility of concerts, and like some of the restrictions in place might also help us to think about like accessibility in the long term, and how that could be improved. Are there already things that you've seen, either like physically or maybe in terms of like digitally, that are things if you could figure out how to make it financially sustainable, that you'd like to kind of keep? And this is a question for everyone.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, so in terms of, so with these restrictions in place, I think kind of one of the like hidden benefits is that it might improve, or it might get people to think more about the accessibility of venues and music in general, either through digital means or even physically, with there just kind of being more space for people who normally can't be in a crowd of people and things like that. So kind of thinking long term, are there things that you're already seeing that you'd kind of like to keep or hold on to in terms of accessibility, if it's financially sustainable?
I can make the comment that I think that this whole pandemic has been a huge stress test for everybody. And I'm not in the camp that says that's a good thing and now we're finding some innovations. I think it's been horrible. But we've seen a lot of people get together that never got together before. We've seen a lot of politicians fail that maybe had good images before this crisis, and then it turns out they can't deal with problems. And one of the things I've definitely seen is that people, certainly in Vilnius, have started talking about accessibility. And I have to hold my hands up and say, like, I was a city councillor for 4 years and I hardly did anything about accessibility. And suddenly people are starting to talk about that. And we're now pushing to have a 50-50 fund, so that if a venue wants to put in a lift or a ramp or an extra area or whatever they need to do to make it universal access, then they would be able to apply for 50% extra money. So that's one of the things that in the elections, now it's election time, we're pushing for new initiatives, and that's getting a lot of support from venues and from people. And I think maybe that's because there's generally maybe an atmosphere of more care and sympathy and humanity because of this horrible situation. So yeah, it's a shame that a world crisis has to happen to make people think about other people with disabilities, but I am seeing that effect, and I really hope that that can be translated into actual programs when the new government gets elected. Fingers crossed.
I'm curious to hear about, well, Lene, you mentioned about kind of negotiating terms and with, for instance, kind of, I suppose, agencies and artists ultimately. Are you doing this completely on your own or with a network? And with that in mind, after Lene, I'm also curious to hear from everyone else about kind of collaborations with other kind of local parties and how that's been going during the pandemic so far.
Yes, one thing is that we are definitely reviewing all our ways of doing things at the moment. And actually, I just realized one of your earlier questions was, what can venues that are not open yet try to start to prepare? And that kind of cross over your question now, because I realized that we had to negotiate some of the deals because most of our deals are split deals, and the fee that some of these bands that had sold out all of the tickets had in mind was just not compliant with what we could offer them. But on the same time, I use this kind of crisis to kind of, you know, sharpen our terms and condition and step up you know, how our deals are made, because I just think that it's time. And I spent the pandemic reason to have this you know, worn out. But so the thing is that we both we negotiated some of the deals because, you know, I can't do the fees that that they expect, and most of them understand, and we're just trying to find some kind of level in common ground in the future fees. But I also want to stress and remind everyone out here that this is also a good time to you know, renew your terms and conditions. I kind of put the whole thing on the other way around, that usually I do deals where you know, we offer a deal to the band or we rent out the venue, but in both terms we have like deals that people are just used to, you know, we're used to doing it the same way, so we don't really look and read through the terms and condition. And I kind of turn it all around, saying neither, you know, this set of terms and condition will work on every type of deal. This is how you behave when you are in our venue. And I of course kind of rewrote the whole issue of force majeure and you know, how how everyone should react on this. But I also took a way around with all the festivals to see how their cancellations terms were, and I've kind of changed this whole thing. So that's actually one good thing that came out of the pandemic, is that everyone kind of agrees on new terms and conditions. I also changed the prices and everything that is a rolling expenses at VEGA. It's not, you know, I didn't raise it completely, but we are looking into a much more healthy organization when we're through with this, at least. And just to stress the question you had before, what can you kind of try to look into right now before you open, is to see the deals, go through the deals, say what is actually realistic, what is possible, and how do I need to form it and negotiate it differently. Because I spent way longer than I expected debating with agents on how long this is going to take, which nobody knows, and what's fair in this sense. And I just thought that we were starting on the same page, but we didn't. And I totally understand the view from the agent sides, because they just have to be, you know, the best agent for the bands. But we spent so much time just trying to find the right page to start out on. So you can easily start that now.
So I'm just looking at the time before I thank all of you and hand back over to Elise. I have just a question for all of you. So you've been sharing like your kind of insights and experience right now. Mark mentions also that he's interested in learning more about the research being done by these students with you. For all of you, what are you interested in from, for instance, the people viewing from other venues across Europe? What type of, why should people reach out to you maybe, or maybe not at all, but like, yeah. What are you interested in learning right now?
This sounds like an opportunity for an advert, so I definitely have an answer. We just started a new organization, or let's say platform. We're looking for people in every city. We have 100 cities targeted, and we've just started, so we have like 6 cities already on board. And the idea is that one coordinator in each city will make a little community of musicians and organizers in his own city. And then us in head office will do our best to link up all of those cities. So it's like a solidarity network all around the world. And our aim is to get people prepared for, fingers crossed, when this ends, so that they'll be the strongest people to come out of this crisis and get back on the live circuit, get back touring, get back, increase their distribution online, and make a lot more money. So that's definitely our aim. And I can see there's Skopje here, and we have Copenhagen. We have all sorts of cities around the world that I'm trying to find people in. So if anyone watching would like to be their community leader in their city, or they have a friend who's really good at organizing, then please let me know. It's musicxfund.org, and you can find us online. And I'll be talking to everyone around the world as soon as possible.
Cool. Anyone else? Then I think then I'm gonna thank you all, and thanks everyone for viewing. Just hang on for Elise, who's gonna talk us through like kind of what's for the rest of the day for Live Europe, Yeah, thank you so much all for speaking. An hour flies by really fast, so I hope you could get everything across. And
thanks, Vaz.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, Bas, and all the panelists. It's really been a pleasure to wrap up this conference with your session, and I think we have really interesting outtakes to take from your conversation. So yes, again, thank you very much to everyone who has attended the 2 days of the conference. But please, if you want to stay with us, we still have quite a bit of program left. So this afternoon from 2 p.m. we'll have another very interesting conversation we will take a look at what we can do and what do we need to rebuild the European music ecosystem in Europe. So we'll have very interesting speakers, including EU Commissioner for Culture, Maria Gabriel, as well as one of our venues from Spain, Sala Apollo, and many more speakers. And yeah, if you're still not too sick of live streams, or if you still want to continue watching them, or if you're curious about it, well, we actually have a very interesting one for you to see. That will be from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. approximately, and it will consist into a live stream broadcasted simultaneously from each of our venues with very interesting emerging European artists. So yeah, feel free to join us. It will be all on our Facebook page. So Live Europe, well, just Live Europe actually. Thanks again. See you very soon. Bye everyone.